Hello, friends, and welcome to uh, the podcast with 1,000 names, aka finally, once again, back to my original name, which I think is the best possible name for this podcast, the Secrets of a Witch podcast with me, Sabrina Scott. Fuck yes. So I posted this on Instagram. I'm sure not everyone saw it, but there is a story behind why I changed the name for a few years. And the reason is someone kept harassing me and threatening to sue me and all of this horrible stuff. Um, my podcast name obviously is unique. There's no other podcast with this name, but someone was grumpy that they felt it was too similar to theirs and threatened me excessively. I talked to a lawyer a lot about it, and he basically said, like, don't worry about it, just ignore this person and register for a trademark, and then you'll be totally fine. So I decided to change the name while I was waiting for the trademark to go through, and it took almost 2 years. But I just recently got the notification that guess what? I do now own the trademark to Secrets of a Witch in Canada as a podcast name, as well as a bunch of other things. So, fuck yes, we're back. We're back, babes. I'm just so excited. Secrets of a Witch as a name does mean a lot to me, and I know I'm kind of like rambling on here before getting into the real content of this show today, but I do think names are important, and Secrets of a Witch to me is really what this podcast is all about. Obviously, it is also about claiming your magic and changing your life, like obviously. Um, the other name was the Sabrina Scott podcast. Obviously, I'm the only one on this show, so clearly that's also relevant. But Secrets of a Witch, what that means to me is these things that we learn and we know through doing magic, these things that become obvious to us as we engage in this thing called witchcraft, as we embrace our identity and our skill set as witches, whether we want to claim that publicly or not. And what is a witch, right? What is magic? There's so many different definitions, but we can say that magic is about changing consciousness at will. Magic is about collaboratively creating change in the world, change that we want to see. And we can do that with explicit high ritual magic type of stuff. And we can also do that just in our lives. And we can do that in our own beings. And we can do magic in our bodies by changing our vibration, changing that internal alchemy that is going on inside of us, and rising to the occasion of personal growth and meeting challenges and overcoming obstacles and all of these things that are so incredibly important that are also such a big part of what witchcraft and magic is all about, at least to me. And so the secrets of a witch are the things I've learned along the way. And obviously, I don't always just talk about witchcraft on this show. Those of you guys who've been here for a few years now will know that it's not just here's what you should do on the full moon. Like here's like what herbs to use in your, I don't know, love potions. It's like no, there's so much other stuff that is relevant. And to me, even though it has witch in the title, Secrets of a Witch really is all about life and what does it mean to live a good life? How can we do that? How can we grow and transform and always be engaged actively in a death and rebirth process in this beautiful thing called life? And that to me is what Secrets of a Witch is all about. And yeah, I'm going to talk about witchcraft. I'm going to talk about magic. I'm going to talk about tarot. I'm going to talk about divination and oracle cards and mediumship and energy work and feminine energy and masculine energy and all of these things and growth, you know, trauma, healing from abuse, healing from various things. leveling up in whatever ways we want to. Good habits, positive mindset, abundance mindset, manifesting and creating the life that we want. Engaging with the agency that all of us have, but so many of us forget we have. It's such an easy thing to forget that we have. And framing things in terms of witches and witchcraft and doing magic, let's say, whether externally or internally, is really what Secrets of a Witch is all about. So welcome, welcome, welcome. 2025, first episode of 2025, first episode of the final fucking name of the podcast. And I'm just so glad that now I have the fucking law on my side. Hooray. It's been a long time coming, and honestly, I kind of forgot about it. I thought it would never get approved. But it fucking did. There was just a massive backlog. So fuck yeah. Yay. So okay, hello, welcome finally to the Secrets of a Witch podcast, you guys. 2025. Let's fucking get it. I'm so excited. It is the year of the snake for all my fellow, not all, but most of my fellow 1989 people. Welcome to our fucking year. Year of snake, death and rebirth, transformation, shedding skin, shedding what no longer serves us. Transformation. A snake is kind of like a phoenix, right? There is that rising from the ashes, so to speak, but instead of ashes, it is just the shedding of our old skin, the skin that we've outgrown, the skin that no longer serves us in any way, the skin that is constraining and confining us from being who we need to be, who we should be, who we want to be. And it's important that this year we all commit to shedding that skin, even if it's challenging, even if it's hard, especially if it's hard. That is even more evidence in my mind that we absolutely do need to shed that skin and step into a different era. I do feel like the energy of 2025 is crazy energy. I feel like it's seismic. I feel like it's going to be awesome. And I know people say that about every single year, but there is something about the energy of this year that just feels really nice and transformative. And I know one thing is for sure that none of us are going to be the same at the end of it. So we might as well grab the reins, take control of the situation, and commit to kicking ass and taking names. And I'll talk a little bit about part of my vision for myself this year. And I don't mean that in a business sense, so I probably will talk about that a bit at some point. But for my own life, I've decided that 2025 is going to be my villain era year. And that does not mean I'm going to go rob some banks. I definitely am not going to do that. But for me, for 2025, villain era means putting myself first in all things. And I know this is probably really hard to believe, but so I think a lot of people know me as like this kind of like, take no prisoners, kind of like bad bitch type of persona online, which is true. But I also am kind of like soft and squishy at times, even though that's not always clear on the internet. And I have always really taken other people into account and into consideration, and I've done that often when I shouldn't necessarily be doing that. And so, that is something I'm kind of calling myself out on a little bit. And Villain Era 2025 is about being okay with being the villain in someone else's story. We can't control what other people say about us. We can't control what other people think about us. And I think a lot of people waste a lot of energy and time and life wanting to control that, trying to control, oh, I want everyone to like me. I want everyone to say good things about me. Like, I want everyone to just like think of me and just think I'm the coolest and not have anything bad to say and never think I'm a bitch or never think I'm this or never think I'm that. And that is impossible. Like, none of us has any control over that at all. And so we might as well just fucking let go and just accept that what other people think about us is not really our business. And if other people want to position us as a villain, um, let them. Like, that's whatever. And I actually was having an interesting conversation with a friend of mine last night, somewhat about this. And I was telling the story of a friend, we were talking about friend breakups. So I was telling the story of a friend breakup I had in March last year. And I'll tell you guys a story now because I think it kind of encapsulates a little bit of what I'm talking about here with not worrying about being a villain in someone else's story. So what had happened was last year, I don't know if you guys know this, but I ended up having over the past few years these ovarian cysts that kept growing and exploding, and I was just in so much pain. And last year, they just, especially on one side, it was just growing so much, and it was so painful that I ended up having to cancel a lot of social engagements. Like I had made plans, and I had to cancel a lot of them last minute because the pain was just so horrible, and it was growing so big that if it grew one more centimeter, I would basically have to have it surgically removed. It was like that bad. And so at the time, a friend of mine was having a book launch, and I wanted to go, obviously, but I couldn't. Like, I was just in excruciating pain. And like, realistically, could I have gone and been in excruciating pain? I could have. Yeah, like I could have taken like 10 Advils or something and like limped over to the book launch and like held my abdomen crunched over in pain, wincing the entire multiple hour book launch. But I decided, you know what? Like, I really feel like fucking shit. This is so excruciating. I need to stay home and just rest and like have a heating pad on my abdomen, take a bath, and just try to like breathe through this incredibly painful experience of having this like massive overgrown ovarian cyst. So I texted that friend and I said, "Hey, like I'm so sorry. Massive congratulations on your book launch. I really wish I could be there. I hope you have an amazing time, but I'm sorry I can't come. Like I'm just in a lot of pain." And the person who I'd been friends with for many years at that point had just said, "Okay." And I replied again and I said, "Seriously, congratulations." And that was the last time we ever spoke. And they never said, "Hope you feel better." Like, don't worry about it. Like, we'll catch up another time. Like, nothing like that. The friendship just ended. The friendship ended because I did not go to the book launch when I was in excruciating pain from something I had no control over. And on one hand, while that's very sad, on the other hand, I'm kind of like good riddance, fuck that person. And not to get into the weeds, but it made me realize a lot about that friendship was not really meeting my needs. I was very neglected in that friendship. And but my point here is I'm sure that this person most likely, due to me not attending this book launch, made me a villain, a bad guy in her story. Like probably I'm gonna assume like, oh, Sabrina doesn't care about me, like doesn't care about my book, blah blah blah. Like I'm gonna assume. Who knows if that's actually what she was thinking, but I had to kind of come to terms with like this may or may not like result in drama. And what's really interesting is I had had to cancel other social engagements due to this cyst pain. And most other people, most other friends were like, no problem, feel better. Like, you know, we'll have a good time on your behalf. Just like worry about, your body and recovering and no problem. So I've canceled on a lot of people due to health stuff, and like 95% of those people I'm still friends with. But this one person reacted in this way where, yeah, we haven't spoken since. I doubt we ever will speak again, and that's fine. And the point here, to bring it back full circle to what I'm actually talking about with this villain era vibe, is, you know, if I was too afraid about being a bad guy in someone's story, I would have just gone and I would have ignored my own body. I would have ignored my own needs. I would have ignored my own health and gone in order to placate someone else's ego or someone else's emotions or someone else's whatever. But true relationships, true friendships are actually based on everyone involved accurately and honestly assessing and communicating their capacity honestly and authentically saying yes, honestly and authentically saying no, and having that be cool. And of course, like everyone can decide what their standards are for friendship, and maybe certain number of no's means that like that's a deal breaker for you, and that's fine. But my point here is when we're in our villain era, we don't care if someone else makes us the bad guy. We are authentically audacious. We occupy our yes and our no from a place of realness, authenticity, and being true to ourselves, being aware of what our body and mind and spirit wants and needs in that moment, and going with that, even if it pisses someone off, even if our boundary creates a rift in a relationship or a friendship or whatever. Because when we live life in a way where we're afraid to be the bad guy, we're afraid to be the villain, that is actually not an authentic life. That is a life that is based on usually self-negation, denying our own self, denying our own needs, denying our own wants, denying what our body is telling us, denying what our emotions are telling us, in service of someone else who probably does not necessarily care too much about us at all. And what's ironic about all of this is that for true friends and true people who really care about us honoring our own needs we will never be the villain in their eyes anyway. That's the ironic part of all of this. And so when we're afraid of being a villain in the eyes of other people, we are holding ourselves back from our true potential. We are holding ourselves back from discovering who we really are, what really lights us up. And we're also holding ourselves back from discovering like what is the true nature of the relationships and connections that we are in. And so with this all in mind, I would also invite all of you to think about making 2025 your villain era. Are there ways that you've played small due to being afraid of being seen as the bad guy, being seen as, oh, that person is too ambitious, they're too vain, they just go to the gym all the time, or they wear too much makeup, or that, being the bad guy or being unapproved of by people? It's time to not give a fuck. Because really, the only person whose approval that really matters is your own. No one else has to live your life. And other people may care about you, but they don't have to walk in your shoes. You do, and you have to live with the decisions that you make every day. And so you might as well make decisions that feel authentic to who you are, and that are based on authentic you rather than based on fear and avoidance of conflict. When we are authentically ourselves and unafraid of being a villain in someone else's story, yeah, that is potentially going to create some conflict. It's potentially going to ruffle some feathers. Potentially, it's going to rock the boat. But that is usually only at first. And then things tend to settle and become a lot more calm. Because when we are authentic and we are vibrating in that authentic way and we're surrounded by other people who are doing the same, hilariously, life becomes a lot easier. When we model audacious authenticity, we tend to attract other people who are living life in that same way. And that tends to be a very healthy way to live. So that's my plan for 2025, you guys. That is the vibe. Villain era. And villain era also means doing away with any people-pleasing tendencies, and doing away with any placating tendencies, and doing away with any conflict avoidance, de-escalation when it's not appropriate to de-escalate tendencies. Of course, it's okay to know how to de-escalate. Of course, we can de-escalate sometimes. Sometimes that makes sense. But also, sometimes it doesn't make sense to de-escalate at all. sometimes it makes sense to stand our ground and say, actually, no, this is where I'm at. And if you don't like it, that's, I'm sorry for that, but this is where we are. So will you do that in 2025? Can you be that person in 2025? Can you get rid of people pleasing, self negation, self denial? And can you make more space for you, your joy, your dreams, your visions, your passions, your needs, your desires, your emotions? If if you're feeling afraid of being in your villain era, I would say, like no judgment, but chances are that you're probably the one that needs it the most. People who are super afraid of entering into the villain era are often people who are afraid of taking up space, admitting they have needs, and afraid of pissing people off, and afraid of saying no to other people. So I'm going to ask you, like, what would it feel like to put yourself first? What would it feel like to say no from a place of authenticity and love? What would it feel like to say yes from a place of authenticity and love? And I'm going to leave that with y'all. I'm so excited. 2025, villain era, snake era. So excited. So I should probably talk a little bit about what I've got planned for this year. So there's going to be a new membership at some point that is going to be a group coaching membership, because I think that is how I can best serve people. I'm going to be making the Without Bullshit courses more available more often. So if you do want to snag one, now is the fucking time. Holler at me and we'll figure it out. I also want to engage in more coaching one-on-one in 2025. I do think a lot of really important big work happens in one-on-one containers and group containers and just talking through what is present for people and reframing it and helping y'all have more clarity on who you want to be and where you want to go and how you can get there. That is the shit that really lights me the fuck up. So if you are interested in that, please holler at me. And what else? What else? What else? Obviously, my book Body Magic is going to be coming out at some point this year. I could not be more excited for that. So stay tuned. You guys can still grab one on Kickstarter. So just go on Kickstarter.com and search Body Magic. It will be the one that is funded. You can still grab a copy that way. I think about 55 to 60 copies out of 150 are accounted for. So you can still grab one. But they will probably go pretty quickly, so you guys should probably jump on that sooner rather than later. And I'll probably leave it there for now, but there's going to be some big, fun, exciting things happening this year, and I am really excited to bring you guys all along on that journey with me. And I would love to hear what your New Year's resolutions are. So if you do feel called to do so, feel free to send that to me on email or Instagram. My email, obviously, CEO at sabrinamscott.com. My Instagram, Sabrina M. Scott. And yeah, I'm so excited to continue to work with you guys. And I will be accepting a few spots for year ahead readings over the next few weeks. So if that is something that calls to you, definitely reach out or just book the 2-hour reading on my website, sabrinamscott.com/readings, and I will get you booked in the next 2 weeks. All right, friends, much love. Thank you so much for listening. Please, if you do like this show, share it with your friends, send it to people, send it to your enemies. I don't know. A 5-star rating always fucking helps. And oh my God, what else do I want to say? I guess that's pretty much it. But I wish you guys the fucking best 2025. It is going to be amazing. And if there are any topics you want to see me talk about on this podcast, I would absolutely love to hear about it. So I'll talk to y'all very soon. Much love. Bye.